Hell and Uncivil Disorder by Jim Webster. These rules are for when your cold civil war finally goes hot. See? And I don't have a satire license, so we're not going to set today's action inside any country. We're going to do an imaginations. We're going to call it Schmate Schmitten. No, that's probably a little too obvious. We're going to call it Breat Griton. That's where the action occurs. Units in this game are organized into literal bunches of 10. I've got 4 of them. These quintessentially Gritish fellas here dressed up in desert robes, which is appropriate for northern latitudes apparently now. That's just how Gritish people dress. Represent 1. They've got their allies in the Metropolitan Police Force, and then now these are actually technically like LA SWAT guys, but they're going to stand in as the Metro SWAT guys. And then another clump of guys. These are just general ne'er-do-wells, the kind of ugly, misshapen freaks who cover their faces and engage in mostly peaceful protests. These guys have 1 transport, 1 sniper, and then, let's be honest here, if they appear, the ditzy blonde here, the bubble-headed bleach blonde comes on at 5, she's probably going to be on these guys' side because that's just how the imaginations world works. Now, the key thing about this game is that morale affects your ability to fight. Forces that are psychotic are better at melee and worse at shooting, whereas guys who are, what's the other word he uses? Truculent, are generally better at shooting and worse at melee, and guys who are sullen are kind of bad at both. Well, you need to figure out what each of these forces are. The sniper fights alone. He is classed as a rifleman, and he starts as truculent. If he ever falls to sullen, he just gives up and goes back to his home base. If he ever becomes psychotic, I can't remember. I have to check the rules on that. But for the other 4 units, we need to figure out, and the way I'm going to track this is with multicolored chips. I'm going to use red for psychotic, yellow for truculent, and green for sullen. And then, of course, if a sullen unit fails a morale check, they just scamper off the table. Units also belong to one of 3 classes, with riflemen, that's the SWAT guys in the back, being the best, and then we'll call the uniformed police officers and the true sons of Gritony gunmen, and then the mob of black-clad enforcers. They're just a bunch of thugs. On this side of the ledger, now I don't really have any like British-looking guys, so I've factored in the red hat for Saint Smorge. It's the cross of Saint Smorge. That's kind of the national symbol for the British. And so I've got 3 units. They're all gunmen. I don't know if this is balanced or not, but of course they have they have 1 transport that 10 guys will cram into somehow. I don't know. And then they're led by Robbie Tomlinson. So they're all gunmen. Robbie Tomlinson, we're going to call him a shaman. He's got a chutzpah of 8, which means he can cast, and he's got basically 3 powers. He's got 6 mana, which if we spend 3, we can re-roll the dice. He also has a copy of the book, The Art of the Deal, which if he is connected to a unit, he can raise their aggression level by 1. Basically, that's automatic, but he can do it anywhere within line of sight. Oh, no, he needs to roll an 8 or less. If he wants to do it to a unit he can see but is not in contact with, he needs to roll a 6 or less. And then he also is wearing a pretty cool hat. And so with the cool hat, if he's connected to a unit, he can cast the spell. They automatically pass their next morale check. And again, he can cast that, quote, spell at any range up to line of sight, but he needs to roll a 5 or less on the D10 to get that off. So with all that done, now we can roll to find out where our starting units are as far as their aggression levels. The way this works, we're going to roll a D10, and on a 1 through 6, the unit will be sullen. On a 7, 8, 9, they start as truculent, and on a 10, they start as psychotic. For the British Defense League over here, I'm just going to roll 3 dice. They're all basically the same, so it doesn't really matter. So we get a 6, 8, and a 2. That means we've got 2 sullen units and 1 truculent. Kapow. And as I said, it doesn't really matter. Now, for the forces of the British government, we need to be careful because the guys there in the back, those are riflemen, semi-professionals, and they're going to start off as truculent. The goons over on your right are going to start off as truculent. And then I have to roll 2 more times for the 2 units of just general gunmen. That's the uniformies. Well, the 2 guys wearing uniforms. So truculent across the board, except for one of those units. We're going to start off the uniformed officers as sullen. These guys might even sympathize with their brothers over on the other side of the aisle, but they got to make a living. So they are perfectly content to work against the interests of these very bad, no good British defense leaguers. With all of that out of the way, we can take a look at terrain. Oh, wait, I need to check for my transports. The Cooper Mini is going to be sullen, and the military-style transport will be truculent, of course. So it looks like the really aggressive guys are over here on the side of the leader, who we're going to call, I don't know, let me just make something up. We're going to give him the first name, something exotic. How about Kier, and then his last name will be Tutor. Yeah, it's imaginations, completely divorced from reality. The British countryside, somewhere on the edge of a sleepy little hamlet. You'll notice this is a diner, not a pub. That should tell you something. We're going to have the British Defense League trying to get across the table. They're going to start from one of these two or one of these two, and they have to get off the other two. So in other words, I'm going to roll a d8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, to find out where they come on the table. They're going to come on the table here, and then they have to exit by one of these two roadways. This means that their opposition is going to start either 1 through 4 or 5 through 8. The opposition comes on the board here. Robbie Tomlinson leads the British Defense League onto the board. They are safe behind the railroad tracks, except for this group here. I should have mentioned, chain link fence costs a full move to get over. The smaller hedges like these right here, those only cost 3 inches, and then the tall hedges and the trees are impassable. We'll call these hedges impassable as well. Of course, if it's impassable, it also blocks line of sight. The government forces send their paid instigators, the guys in black, over the wall here. As I said, they're only going to be able to move 3 inches. They have their uniformed officers in the vanguard, then their more professional door kickers coming up next, and then the guys from the Desert Realms in the end. Of course, the Desert Realm guys are the real, true sons of the British, so we have to protect them at all costs. That's why they're in the back. And then we do have a sniper up here at the corner of this stone wall. With everything done on the first turn, we can slow down a little bit and explain how the turn order works. It's a bit of an I go, you go system with some interleavening, which keeps things fresh. The first step on the British Defense League's turn is magic. And as I said, because Robbie is connected to this group, he can raise their aggression level by 1. They're going to become psychotic. The next thing that happens is movement for these guys, and there are a couple of ways to interrupt that movement. You have to deal with any covering fire, which we don't really have because we don't have any heavy weapons today. We don't have any MGATs. That's my God, it's a tank. Then they're going to, and that's basically where the opposition gets to fire at you during your movement phase. Then you get to fire, then we do all melees, and then we check morale. So we've done magic for this first turn, and then we do all of our movement. After the infantry are done moving, the table looks a little something like this. Transports move 3d6 inches. So a total of 10 inches for a little Mini Cooper is going to take it right up to here. And he comes screaming around. Now, they don't have any weapons, but they do have a melee score. So I think we're going to try to open the route by sending him in first. The GDL could open fire, but they have a range of 15 inches, which means their turn is basically done. That means it's time for the government forces and their paid enforcers. After movement, things look like this. The thugs did not have enough to get out of the yard. The sniper has taken up position on this porch. We could actually probably slide him right in there. I don't know if he'll fit. That works pretty good for me. He is looking in this general direction to kind of hold the line on that right flank. Everybody else has moved, and that means we get to take a look at how shooting works. The uniformed officers will open fire on this leading element of the GDL. To understand how firing works, I want to show you how aggression levels work at the same time. Because our gunmen are truculent, they're going to be rolling on 5s. We're rolling d10s, and they hit on 5s or less. They are firing at gunmen who are psychotic. They have a survival roll of 4 or less. So we roll to hit, roll to see if we survive, and then we can check morale. Of course, these guys don't have any magic, and I forgot to bring their transport on, so we'll do that next time. I had to loot every d10 in my collection. So we roll, and we are looking for anything that is a 5 or less. The zeros, of course, count as 10. So there's a 2, 4, 2, and a 3. So 4 hits altogether. Oh, nope, there's a 1 in there too. So just as you'd expect, half of these shots hit. Now the forces of the GDL have to make their survival roll, and they are charging forward because they are psychos. So they have a survival roll of 5 or less. No, that's the morale. It's 4 or less, excuse me. So they fail 2, and that means I have to remove 2 figures. I'll just pull these 2 off the back. Oh, but we're not done, because the sniper over here, he's hiding over in the house. There he is on the porch. He has a line of sight, and I think, now it says small arms have a range of 15 inches. Doesn't make sense for a sniper rifle to be classed as a small arms, so I'm going to go ahead and roll a d6 to find out what he does. He is classed as, he's got to be a rifleman because he's one of the well-trained thugs. Well, not thugs, he's one of the well-trained, we'll call him rifleman. And he is still truculent. So I forgot to put his chip down, I'll do that now. And a truculent gunman, there's no difference for range, I don't think. There are a couple. Oh, if you move and fire, you're at -1 to hit. So instead of hitting on a 5, he's going to be hitting on a 4. With a 7, he misses, and that means the firing phase is done. Now we need to check morale for these guys. We do not have to take a morale check. You only take a morale check if a third of your numbers are eliminated in the same turn. They're going to remain psychotic, and play is going to kick over. Now this is where you get a little confused, because there's a magic phase. And I'm going to have Mr. Tomlinson inspired this group of psychos to great levels. Oh, I forgot that this guy, this car, he's pretty chill right now. We do not have to worry about morale checks. The only thing that would trigger a morale check, at least at this stage of the game, is if you see one of your friendly units rout off the table. Hasn't happened. Or if you lose 30, that's a third of your figures in the same round. 2 out of the 11 doesn't count. So play kicks over to the British Defense League, and old Robbie is going to cast a spell called, because he's got his cool hat, he's going to inspire these guys. They will automatically pass their next morale check. It's a little confusing to me because magic phase comes first, and I think this spell is cast out of that turn, but it doesn't say in the rules how many spells you can cast. So it just makes sense to me to kind of treat this as he is going to inspire these guys to great acts of bravery. Now we're going to move our little Mini Cooper. We are going full bonsai, and it's going to move 11 inches. As you can see, he is only 9 inches from this leading element. So he's going to pile in and make a melee check on his turn. As for movement for the rest of the infantry, I'm going to let this mob run ahead. They will move 6 inches to about there. This unit will race 6 inches up to here. And as a result of all that movement, we only have 1 shot that we can take. This sullen unit can fire at these riflemen. The rules are not explicit about whether or not you can fire into a unit that is already in melee. This psychotic unit maybe wants to fire here, but because of the transport involved in the melee, they're just not going to be able to do that. Unfortunately for the gunmen here, because they are sullen, their only firepower is 3. So all 10 shots, they're only hitting on 3s. Their opponents are also sullen, but they're sullen riflemen, so their survival is on a 7 or less. So first we roll the hit, looking for 3s or less. I will re-roll this one and get a 4, so we got a single double hit. And then we check for our survival roll. As I said, we're looking for 7 or less, and that does them no good. Now, if you do roll a single 7, that figure is pinned, and you lay him down to reflect that. He has to stand up on the next turn. On closer review, transports lose close combat. They have no firepower. They have no offensive capability whatsoever. Nowhere does it list the value of a transport. What does it actually do? Don't know. Doesn't say. Another bit of a weakness in these rules. Jim, you got to tell us, what do transports do? That being the case, we'll let these psychotic guys, now bear in mind there's only 2, 4, 6, 8 of them left, So they're only going to be able to fire 8d6. They are psychotic, which means they're not great at shooting. They have a firepower of 4. So we'll roll, and this one doesn't count. We're looking for 4s or less, and we get 1, 2, 3 hits this time. And they are firing at truculent gunmen who have a survival of 6. They're firing at the leading element here. And so looking for 6s or less. We get a 2, 8, and a 10, so they only make 1 save, and we're going to pull off these 2 kind of plainclothes officers. They're actually federal officers, but they have the same blue coat, so I thought that would be fine. That's only 2 of their number, and so that does not trigger a morale check, and that puts the play back over onto the forces of the government. Once again, the government forces don't have magic. The thugs have leapt the wall, and they're blocking line of sight for the sniper. That's all right. They want to get out into this area to block movement by this crowd over here. Speaking of this crowd of British men over here, the uniformed officers have charged into melee, and that has opened a fire lane for the riflemen to start shooting at these guys. So first we have 10 shots. Sullen riflemen only hit on 4. Roll them bones, and I know this one's hard to read. That's a 7, so that's going to be a miss. We get 1, 2, 3 threes. 4. We actually get a total of 5 hits out of that. The psychotic gunmen are going to make their survival roll. They're looking for 4s or less. And we got 5 of them. Looking for 4s, they get 1, 2, 3 successful saves. They lose 2 more of their number. That is, is it if they lose 30% of their original number or 30% in the same turn? Is that when you make morale check? I don't know. The way I read melee is it's a 1v1. Since I've only got 4 cops that are capable of getting into contact with 4 of the red-hatted guys, I got to make 4 separate rolls, and we'll go from left to right around the horn. You roll a single D. We'll roll the white for the guys in the red hat and black for the cops. The cops have a combat factor of 4. The red hat's combat factor of 3. Now, they're both gunmen, but because the red hats are sullen, they have a slightly lower chance of winning. So we're going to roll, and the high roll wins and eliminates a figure. So the English, so like I said, we're going left to right. And I guess it probably matters which direction you go, because that, I don't know, that might affect things. So even with the +1, the red hat eliminates a second cop. And then we get to the third battle where Mr. Red Hat over here, actually I don't think he's wearing a red hat. He just has the Aloha shirt. And then we have one more battle. So the black die is at +1, and so it goes 2 to 2. And so this unit is now reduced to 5 figures. This unit is reduced to 2, 4, 6, 8. It should be 8, right? Yeah, this guy lost 2. And I think that means that we're done in this melee. We'll continue on the next turn. I see here a bunch with any pinned figures. This corrects what I said earlier. Must make a successful morale throw to move forward. So if you can just pin one figure, then you can lay them down. Now, that was the officer's turn. So we're ready to move on to, and it says if they lose more than a third in a single turn. The actual term is a third of his figure within one move, which I'm taking as in a single turn, or half a turn, I guess I should say. So if you're on side A and you lose, actually it would only be on the other opponent's turn, right? So I think morale is going to hold steady until you get reduced down to like 5 or 6 models. That's my understanding of how the gameplay actually works. Be that as it may, it is, once again, Team Red's turn. And so we're going to use our magic phase to raise, we're going to whip these guys into a furor. Robbie says, guys, look, they're whipping up on us. You got to get going. Then it becomes the movement phase. And because is he within 6 inches? I'd like to move Robbie. He's going to be out of position. Maybe we bring him over here for now, and he's out of line of sight, and that'll give us a little bit more flexibility on the next turn. Of course, our psychotic guys are going to charge into here. Oh, you know what I did forget? When you charge into melee, your opponents do get a chance to fire at you. Man, I'm giving the government forces every benefit of the doubt here. That is so unlike me. That's not going to happen here, though, because these survivors of this psychotic unit, we'll spread them out a little bit, they don't have enough movement. They're not charging into combat. Instead, they're going to pause right here, and I'll show you right where, and they're going to have to open fire. The only other unit that can move is this unit, and we're going to bring them up to here. And the beauty of a game like this, where it's a mob on mob, we can just crush them all up like that. How does that look? Although, I say that, but we actually now have the ability to do a little bit of moving to where we can gang up. See, this fight over here is going to wind up being a 2-on-1. We can bring 2 more guys up, like so, to fight these 2 guys. So the nice thing about being charged is that you can kind of dictate the terms of how these guys are organized. And then I've got one more guy in, we'll call it in reserve back there. And that's going to be it. So now we can do a little bit of shooting. These guys can shoot here. These guys can shoot the thugs. So I think everybody's going to open fire. Although we do need to bring up these last 2 guys. So there's our mob and our mob. All right, so a lot of shooting here. We've got 2, 4, 6 models that are psychotic. They don't want to shoot. The psychotic models are not great. And we do only have 6 of them. So let me grab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dice, and we'll roll. And they're still not really very good at shooting. I believe they hit on 3s. The psychotic gunmen hit on 4s, which is a difference of a single hit. So they're going to hit twice. We'll pull out all these misses, and we'll roll for the sullen riflemen who are being fired at first. Let's take a look and bring them into focus. We roll 2 dice to see if they survive. They get a 2 and a 5, and that is both successful. Then we have this unit of gunmen firing at this unit of thugs. Once again, a truculent unit. Oh, here's their aggression level. The truculent unit of gunmen is going to be hitting on 5s. All 10 of them are there, so I got to pull out all the stops on my Wurlitzer of Doom, and they're going to be hitting on 5s. And we get 1. This is a 5. Take my word for it. 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. Did I roll enough dice there? I think I missed one. I did. Let me roll 1 more. And with a 4, we get a total of 5 hits. We'll pull out the one that's hard to read. And let's see if these thugs can make their survival roll. The thugs, who are truculent, have a survival of only 4. So they will save 2, 3, and they will lose 2 of their members. That takes us to morale. That takes us to melee, and I've got 2 fights that are 2-on-1. I'm going to roll 2 dice. We still have the same situation that the black die is at +1. And so the black die beats one of these and eliminates the British Defense League. The other one becomes a 3v3. That's a tie and to no effect. So we roll again. So doubling them up really just gives you an extra chance to put the guy down. And that means another one. So that's 1. Then we have 2 1v1 fights. The black die is at +1, and he's going to win the first. And the black die is going to lose the second. So we will trade off something like this. And I think that's probably a pretty fair way to do it. The police now are down. They lost 2, so the police are going to have to make a morale check. The guys in the red hat lost 2, and they still have 5 on the table, so they do not. And that's where we're at as far as the melee is concerned. So we have our first morale check on the part of the beat cops, who have to roll a d10, and because they get a 4, they're successful. They are truculent. They have a morale of 6, so they are successful, and they will not see their aggression go up or down. That brings us to the government side. The riflemen are going to hold still. They can take a shot at these GDL guys, and of course they have to protect the most precious resource the country has to offer, people who are not from that country. Then the mob is going to charge, and they're going to be they're going to be just a little bit shy, but they are going to get stuck in against this. They're going to try to get to within contact of these guys right here. And I think things are going to really start hotting up here in just a second, as they say. And that's really going to be about it. Because there's no charging units, the play goes right over into shooting. So we have these riflemen taking 10 shots at this unit here. We'll start with the sullen riflemen hitting on 4s. They're going to do reasonably well. They get a total of 1, 2, 3. Wow, that was actually really good. 6 hits. And for survival, those gunmen are truculent, so they'll at least be successful on 5s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits altogether. Looking for 5s to survive. They're going to get, that's a really good roll. They only lose 1 man, and that's not enough to trigger a morale check. Then the thugs are going to open fire, and thugs are really more melee boys. There's only 8 of them, and they're going to roll for shooting when they are still truculent. Means thugs, truculent, firepower. They're only hitting on 2s. But like I said, they just didn't have the movement to get there. So looking for 1s and 2s, and they're not going to get any. So that is a bit of a waste of time. Don't worry about it. They'll make it up on the next round. Oh, you know, for movement, we can get away with creating 3. We're down to just 3 for these cops. So we have to do 3 1v1s. That's all we got to do. Remember, the cops are still going to be at +1. So they're going to lose the first. The black die, of course, is +1. They're going to tie 1. And then they are going to... Oh, I forgot to move Robbie. And then they're going to tie 2. So only one of these combats is going to go against anyone. And then that will... Finally, that's the one loss. And there's still 4 guys on the table. That's only 20%. No morale checks. And that's going to end the turn right there. Okay, Tommy, you got to come in here now. Tommy is classed. He's was hiding out in the parks. I think I forgot to move him last turn. So again, remember our psychos have to move. So they're going to charge into combat. They finally make it. Firepower of 4, and this is what I was talking about before. We're going to call that a 1, even though it's a little tilted. They're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits this time. And so if we pull those away, we're going to dump 6 dice in here. We're going to roll 6d6. Looking for... Their survival is terrible. I think it's 4s on this one, isn't it? Psychos are not careful about their safety. Psychotic gunmen have a survival of 4, and we're going to get 2, 2, 1, 6. 1 and 4. They only took out 1 guy. All right, lady, you're out of here. Okay. Then, well, wait a minute. That's shooting during the movement phase. These guys are going to charge into the thugs. Even though they're not... Oh, you know, for the magic phase, he was out of line of sight. That's the problem. So he's going to rush up to support. Let's move these 2 to here. And these 2 to here. There may be some follow-ups. We have 3 on 1, 3 on 1. Let's put Robbie... Well, he can only move 6 inches. So let's put him hiding behind cover right here. Because you know... Robbie is the one they want the most of all, right? And then we can actually bring this guy into melee here and this guy over here. We'll do 2 on 1 right there. And we'll do basically 1, I guess? Does this make sense? We can do 2 on 1, 1v1. We'll have 1 guy in backup, and then we'll do a 2 on 1 over there. And that's kind of how we're going to organize it. I know it looks a little sloppy. We'll zoom in on that in just a second. Remember, the thugs do get a chance to shoot, though. So those 8d10 are only going to be hitting on, what do we say, 3? Thugs who are truculent have a firepower of, it's only 2. Okay. Hey, 1 big roll can change things. They got at least 1, 2 hits, 3 hits altogether. And that's going to force 3 survival rolls by gunmen who are truculent. So we're looking for 5s or better. We get a 044, so one of these guys is not going to make it into combat. And that will be the end of shooting. So both of these guys shot. Nobody on the GDL side shot. So now we have to do melees. Let's do this one down here. First, I want to see how effective these psychos are when they get into combat. Remembering that they still have their free I win the morale check. There are only 5 of them. So that should make it a little easier. And psychotic, here's where you see the power of going full psycho. Full berserker, gunman, psychotic. Oh, I need D6s. Combat factor of 4 for sullen riflemen. For psychotic gunmen, combat factor of 7 means we are at a total of +3 to the white dice. We have a 2-on-1, followed by 1, 2, 3 1v1s. So the first one is going to be 1, 3, and 4. So that will eliminate 1 of these guys. Then it's going to be match dice. And I'm just going to roll 3 times for 1, 2, 3. And we get the white wins. We get the white wins with the 2v2. And we get the white wins with the others. So as you can see, once you get your psycho guys into combat, now the question becomes, what happens? How do we resolve movement at this point? Do they have to eat 2 more rounds of fire? I don't think so. I think we go ahead and give them an opportunity to move into melee. You give them the follow-up move, standard operating procedure, but they're going to be badly outnumbered now. Because these riflemen were lined up in 2 rows of 5, now you've got, well, we can get, yeah, it's just going to be a whole bunch of 1v1s, but this trooper will move over to make that a 2v1. We'll deal with that on the next round. For now, we need to worry about this fight where we've got 2, 2, 1, 1, 2. So we have a 1, 1, 1. Yeah, the rest of these are 1v1s. So the question is, what's the difference between gunmen and thugs? And the answer is, thugs who are truculent have a combat factor of 5 versus gunmen with a combat factor of 4. It means the gunmen are once again going to be, the GDL will once again be facing a little bit of a downer in that the black die is +1 on all of these fights. So the black die will eliminate one of these guys here. I have another 2v1 to resolve. That's here on the corner. And not good enough. So we get rid of one of the guys with the corporate paid placards. I should have brought the media out. I haven't done that yet. Maybe that's what he should do on his next magic turn, if he gets an opportunity to do so. We're going to eliminate this GDL, and then we have 3 more fights. 1 loss, 2 a loss, and a win for the GDL. So these 2 guys will disappear, and this guy will also disappear. And I think the red hats have to make a morale check here. I think, yeah, the riflemen down here have to. I think there's going to be a lot of morale checks. Once we eliminate these 10-man standing armies, things get a little more chaotic. So we have a 1v1, a 1v1, and a 2v1. Let's start with a 2v1. Again, the white dice are going to have the bonus, so they eliminate this guy. And then we have a series of 2 1v1s. The white wins with a 5-4. And we wind up with a tie. So this last officer is going to have to make a morale check because she's all alone. And this tree needs a much wider base, doesn't it, guys? We'll start with these riflemen. They need a 7 or less, or they're already at sullen. Okay, so on an 8, 9, or 10, their aggression level drops to 0, and they leg it. They've had enough. They're out of here. These red hats have a morale of 6, and with a result of a 9, I think their aggression goes down. So we replace yellow with green. Then these truculent police officers have a morale of 6. Attempts to roll less than or equal. This is a success. Rolling over that means they drop a level of aggression. So she's going to stay at truculent, and she is this lone cop right here is going to hold off the mob for just a little bit longer. I don't know what happens here. Can we split up our mob and send 3 guys off the table? Do we have one figure really holding up all 5? I just wish there was a little bit more language in the text that explained how these things work. Now, it is time for the government forces to go. And so we'll peel off here. We'll say, okay, we're gonna go 1v1 Well, there's a 2v1. We got one there, and then we got two here. So that's really going to be about it. Do have 10 truculent gunmen opening fire. They're hitting on 5s, and they're shooting at these psychotic fellas over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits altogether. You might just have to take my word for it if you can't see. So with those 6 hits, the survival of these psychotic guys, that was a low one, wasn't it? Gunmen who are psychotic, they need 4s to succeed, and they get 1, 2 of those. And that means, so with 5 hits, 2, did I say they need 4s to succeed? Yeah, so one of these is a pin. I have been forgetting about the pins. So they're not going to be able to move, and one is fully eliminated. Boy, that would change. Oh, actually, well, but we do have the morale check. So I think we'll be okay. So that's that firing. And then we do have the sniper over here has a line of sight from the porch over to these 2 guys over here. We're going to give him credit for that. So with the 5, now he didn't move, so he doesn't have any penalties on that. He is a rifleman. He's got a firepower of 8. He will hit 1, and then that 1 is a sullen gunman with a survival of 5. So he's going to eliminate 1 more gunman. But the interesting thing about snipers is when they do that, first of all, there's a chance if he hadn't hit that he might have hit his ally over there. But also, they have to roll for reaction. Sullen units just go to ground and hide. That means the sniper's firepower drops to 5. Oh, but they can't spot a sniper, so that's all that is. Because they're sullen. Okay, yeah, so no real deleterious effect on that score. And that is going to bring us to this melee over here, where the numbers are in favor of the thugs. So we have a 2-on-1, and now we'll roll 2 black dice for the thugs who are at +1. And this red hat will be eliminated. And then we have another 2-on... No, we have a pair of 1v1s. This is a 2-on-1 right here. So we'll do these 2 1v1s first. The black die wins. The black die wins, and then we have a 2-on-1, and the black die is going to win. So the last 3 of these GDL boys is going to be eliminated, and that's going to force some morale checks on the next turn. In fact, because we're done... Oh, we have one more combat here, where the white die is at +1, but with a 6... she's going to be eliminated. Now, that raises some interesting questions about what happens when you have 2 units that are eliminated. Well, she's eliminated on this turn, so these guys will have to check morale on the next turn. But because there was a unit eliminated here on the last turn, these guys now have to make a morale check. And this is where we really start throwing dice and people start changing their attitudes. With a failure, these guys are going to become psychotic. So the gunmen who just got involved have bumped up, and they're going to be full red. What about these guys? Well, it's not this turn that their allies were eliminated. No, they did, didn't they? They saw these guys eliminated last turn, which means they also need to check. They are, of course, truculent. Truculent gunmen have a morale of... Oh, that's the wrong chart. The truculent gunmen have a morale of 6, so they have just made it. And they're not going to turn psycho themselves. Did I get that right? The wording on this is a little odd. Roll a d10. Attempt to roll less than or equal. This is a success. Failure means they drop... There's such an easier way to say this. Make a morale check. Try to roll 6 or less. Explicitly say, on a 6 or less, nothing happens. If you fail the morale check, aggression goes up by 1. And I think we've fought this to a conclusion. Now, these guys are going to have to pass a morale check. They still have the magic spell, so he will be able to stand up. They will be able to charge here, but they're going to have to eat a full barrage of melee, of missile fire. So these 4 guys are taking 10 shots from a now psychotic line of gunmen. Their firepower's gone down to 4, but there's still 10 shots. They could eliminate all of these guys. And they won't do it with a roll like that. They're going to get a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits. Actually, that's pretty good. They beat the odds, right? They should have gotten 4. They got 5 hits. For the survival check, we get the psychotic gunmen have a survival of 5. So we have 1, 2 failures. So 2 more of these guys go down. And what about like I don't know, right? So this is pretty much it, because we're gonna do a fight that's a couple of 1v1s, but with just these few left in the sniper, I think the battle is pretty much over. I'm a little surprised that these forces stood around as long as they did. And I'm a little surprised at how useless transports are. I feel like I need to go back and reread the rules. I have the same feeling at the conclusion of this fight that I have after playing Tomorrow's War. I feel like I'm missing something. Now, the good news is Jim Webster sometimes stops by. He's the author of these rules. I think I should point that out. You can get these on Amazon. That's where I got my hard copy. He swings by the comments. So I'm not going to play another game of this until this video goes live and I get corrected, not just for my really terrible and unfunny satire, but on the rules questions of, did these guys move and operate as units of 10, or do they operate as individuals? Because it seems like sometimes they do one, sometimes they do the other. I'm not quite sure if I'm doing snipers right either. And what about our leaders? Do they have the ability to freely move about the table when they're casting these spells? I do want to play it again, though, because I want to see how media works. There's some really funny stuff in here on media, and I want to see how it changes the nature of the battle when you summon one of those. Old Robbie here had the ability to do that, but I just kept forgetting in just the press of trying to understand all of the things that didn't make a lot of sense. Obviously, with the extra unit, the government forces had a significant advantage. I thought that the leader and would be an equivalent of this 4th unit. Maybe it is, but with the sniper as well, it's just too much. So really, if you decide to play this game, I would go with just the same number of units. Also, the fact that we had a rifleman and a thug, meaning that the government forces had 2 units that were perfectly well suited to this kind of fight, and were more role players, gave them a lot more power. And again, when you're trying to attack with fewer numbers than the defenders have, you are really going up against the 8 ball. So I think they did reasonably well, all things considered. But as a test game, this was delightful. But like I said, we're going to wait until I get some answers, and then we'll try this again. Until then, I'm praying for you.